Welcome to our exploration of the ecological impact of biotechnology. In this video, we'll dive into how biotechnology is shaping our natural world both positively and negatively. From genetically modified crops to bioremediation, biotechnology is influencing ecosystems in ways we are only beginning to understand. We'll look at real-world examples, discuss the science behind these changes, and consider what the future might hold. Whether you're a student, a professional, or simply curious about the intersection of technology and nature, this journey will provide valuable insights. Let's start by defining what biotechnology means in an ecological context and why it matters for our planet. Biotechnology refers to the use of living organisms or their systems to develop products that benefit humans. This can range from traditional practices like fermentation to cutting-edge genetic engineering. In the context of ecology, biotechnology often involves modifying plants, animals, or microbes to achieve specific goals, such as increasing crop yields or cleaning up pollutants. Understanding the basics of biotechnology helps us appreciate its potential and the risks it may pose to natural ecosystems. Let's move forward to see how these technologies are applied in real-world ecological scenarios. One of the most significant applications of biotechnology is in agriculture. Genetically modified crops have been developed to resist pests, tolerate harsh conditions, and improve nutritional content. These advancements have helped farmers increase productivity and reduce the need for chemical pesticides. However, they also raise concerns about biodiversity loss and the unintended spread of modified genes to wild relatives. As we examine these agricultural innovations, it's important to weigh their benefits against their potential ecological risks. Genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, are at the heart of many biotechnological advances. By altering the genetic makeup of plants and animals, scientists can introduce traits that improve resistance to disease, enhance growth, or adapt to environmental stresses. While GMOs offer promising solutions to food security, their release into the environment can disrupt local ecosystems. Crossbreeding with wild species and the potential for creating superweeds are just a few of the ecological challenges that must be managed carefully. Bioremediation is a powerful example of biotechnology's positive ecological impact. This process uses living organisms, such as bacteria or plants, to clean up contaminated environments. For instance, certain microbes can break down oil spills or toxic chemicals, restoring ecosystems to health. Bioremediation offers a sustainable alternative to traditional cleanup methods, often with fewer side effects. However, introducing non-native species for this purpose can sometimes have unintended consequences, so careful planning and monitoring are essential. Biotechnology can both support and threaten biodiversity. On one hand, it can help conserve endangered species through cloning or genetic rescue. On the other, widespread use of genetically uniform crops can reduce genetic diversity in the wild. This loss of diversity makes ecosystems more vulnerable to diseases and environmental changes. Balancing technological advancement with the preservation of biodiversity is a key challenge for scientists and policymakers alike. Soil health is fundamental to ecosystem stability, and biotechnology is increasingly used to enhance it. Engineered microbes can improve nutrient cycling, suppress plant diseases, and promote healthy root systems. However, introducing new microbial strains into the soil can alter existing microbial communities, sometimes with unpredictable results. Ongoing research aims to maximize benefits while minimizing ecological disruption, ensuring that soil biotechnology supports long-term sustainability. Biotechnology has enabled innovative solutions for water purification. Engineered bacteria and plants are used to remove pollutants from water sources, making them safer for both humans and wildlife. These biotechnological approaches can be more cost-effective and environmentally friendly than chemical treatments. However, the introduction of engineered organisms into aquatic systems must be managed carefully to avoid unintended ecological consequences. Biofuels produced using biotechnological methods offer a renewable alternative to fossil fuels. Crops like corn and sugarcane are engineered to yield more energy-rich biomass. While biofuels can reduce greenhouse gas emissions, their large-scale production may lead to deforestation, habitat loss, and increased use of fertilizers. The challenge lies in developing biofuels that are both environmentally and economically sustainable. Biotechnology plays a role in addressing climate change by developing crops that can withstand extreme weather and by creating organisms that capture carbon dioxide. These innovations can help mitigate the effects of global warming. However, the long-term ecological impacts of releasing genetically modified organisms into the environment remain uncertain. Continuous monitoring and adaptive management are crucial to ensure positive outcomes. Introducing genetically modified or non-native species for ecological purposes can sometimes result in invasive species problems. These organisms may outcompete native species, disrupt food webs, and alter habitats. Careful risk assessment and regulatory oversight are necessary to prevent unintended ecological consequences. Scientists are working to develop safeguards that minimize these risks while still harnessing the benefits of biotechnology. Gene drives are a powerful biotechnological tool that can rapidly spread genetic traits through wild populations. They have potential uses in controlling disease-carrying insects or invasive species. However, the ecological consequences of altering entire populations are not fully understood. There are concerns about unintended effects on ecosystems and the ethical implications of such interventions. Ongoing research and public dialogue are essential as this technology advances. Conservation genetics uses biotechnology to help preserve endangered species. Techniques like genetic rescue and cloning can increase genetic diversity and population viability. These methods offer hope for species on the brink of extinction, but they also raise questions about the long-term health and adaptability of populations. Integrating biotechnology with traditional conservation strategies is key to achieving lasting ecological benefits. Synthetic biology involves designing and constructing new biological parts or systems. This field has the potential to create organisms with entirely novel functions, such as bacteria that produce biodegradable plastics. While these innovations can benefit the environment, they also introduce new uncertainties. The release of synthetic organisms into natural ecosystems must be carefully regulated to prevent unintended ecological disruption. Forestry is another sector where biotechnology is making an impact. Genetically engineered trees can grow faster, resist pests, and tolerate harsh environments. These advances can help meet the demand for wood products while reducing pressure on natural forests. However, concerns remain about the potential for gene flow to wild tree populations and the effects on forest biodiversity. Responsible management is necessary to balance productivity with ecological integrity. Aquatic biotechnology includes the genetic modification of fish and other aquatic organisms for food production and environmental management. For example, faster-growing fish can help meet global protein needs. However, if these organisms escape into the wild, they may compete with native species or disrupt aquatic ecosystems. Careful containment and monitoring are required to prevent negative ecological impacts. Pollinators like bees are essential for ecosystem health and agriculture. Biotechnology is being used to develop disease-resistant pollinators and improve their resilience to environmental stressors. While these efforts can support pollinator populations, there's a need to ensure that genetic modifications do not negatively affect other species or disrupt pollination networks. Ongoing research is focused on achieving these goals safely. Changes introduced by biotechnology can ripple through food webs, affecting multiple species. For example, pest-resistant crops may reduce food sources for certain insects, which in turn impacts birds and other predators. Understanding these complex interactions is crucial for predicting and managing ecological outcomes. Scientists use ecological modeling to anticipate potential effects and guide responsible biotechnological intervention. Ecological impact of biotechnology is not just a scientific issue, it also raises important ethical questions. Who decides which technologies are safe to use, and how do we weigh the risks and benefits? Public engagement and transparent decision-making are essential for building trust and ensuring that biotechnological advances serve the common good. Ethical frameworks help guide responsible innovation in this rapidly evolving field. Effective regulation is key to managing the ecological risks of biotechnology. Governments and international organizations have developed guidelines for the safe development, testing, and release of genetically modified organisms. These frameworks aim to protect ecosystems while allowing for innovation. Ongoing review and adaptation of regulations are necessary as new technologies and ecological challenges emerge. Public perception plays a significant role in the acceptance and success of biotechnological innovations. Misinformation or lack of understanding can lead to resistance, even when technologies offer ecological benefits. Education and transparent communication are vital for fostering informed public dialogue. By involving communities in decision-making, we can ensure that biotechnology is used in ways that reflect societal values and priorities. Cotton is a genetically modified crop that produces its own insecticide, reducing the need for chemical sprays. This has led to increased yields and lower pesticide use in many regions. However, some pests have developed resistance, and there are concerns about effects on non-target insects. This case highlights the importance of ongoing monitoring and adaptive management in biotechnological application. Golden rice is engineered to produce vitamin A, addressing nutritional deficiencies in some populations. While it offers significant health benefits, its ecological impact must be carefully considered. There are concerns about gene flow to wild rice species and the long-term effects on local ecosystems. This example underscores the need for thorough risk assessment before introducing new biotechnological products. Bioremediation has been used to clean up oil spills, such as the Deepwater Horizon disaster. Engineered bacteria were deployed to break down oil, helping restore affected ecosystems. While this approach can be effective, it also raises questions about the fate of introduced organisms and their interactions with native species. Careful monitoring is essential to ensure ecological safety. Biotechnology is being used to control disease vectors like mosquitoes. Genetically modified mosquitoes can reduce populations of disease-carrying insects, lowering the risk of illnesses like malaria. However, altering insect populations can have cascading effects on food webs and ecosystem dynamics. Ongoing research is needed to balance public health benefits with ecological considerations. Aquaculture, or fish farming, increasingly relies on biotechnology to improve yields and disease resistance. Genetically modified fish grow faster and are more resilient, helping meet global seafood demand. However, escapes from fish farms can threaten wild populations and disrupt aquatic ecosystems. Effective containment and monitoring are crucial for minimizing ecological risks. Biotechnology is being used to restore degraded forests by developing trees that grow quickly and resist disease. These advances can accelerate reforestation and carbon sequestration. However, the introduction of genetically modified trees must be managed to prevent negative impacts on native species and forest ecosystems. Long-term studies are needed to assess ecological outcomes. Bioremediation uses genetically engineered plants to remove toxins from soil and water. This approach can restore contaminated sites and improve ecosystem health. However, there are concerns about the persistence of engineered genes in the environment and their effects on non-target species. Careful selection and management of phytoremediation plants are essential for ecological safety. Synthetic biology has enabled the creation of organisms that produce useful materials, such as biodegradable plastics or bio-based chemicals. These innovations can reduce reliance on fossil fuels and decrease pollution. However, the ecological impacts of releasing synthetic organisms are not fully understood. Rigorous testing and regulation are needed to ensure environmental safety. Microbial fuel cells use bacteria to generate electricity from organic waste. This technology offers a sustainable way to produce energy while treating wastewater. The ecological impact is generally positive, but the introduction of engineered microbes into natural systems must be carefully managed to avoid unintended consequences. Ongoing research is focused on optimizing performance and safety. Algae are being engineered to produce biofuels, offering a renewable energy source with a smaller land footprint than traditional crops. Algae can also capture carbon dioxide, helping mitigate climate change. However, large-scale cultivation may affect aquatic ecosystems and water quality. Balancing energy production with ecological protection is a key consideration for algae biofuel projects. CRISPR gene editing is being explored for conservation purposes, such as reviving extinct species or enhancing disease resistance in wildlife. While these applications hold promise, they also raise complex ecological and ethical questions. The long-term effects of gene editing on ecosystems are not yet fully understood, making cautious and transparent research essential. Bioplastics are produced using genetically engineered organisms and offer a biodegradable alternative to conventional plastics. This can help reduce plastic pollution and its impact on ecosystems. However, the production process and the fate of bioplastics in the environment must be carefully evaluated to ensure they deliver real ecological benefits. Biotechnology is used to develop targeted pest control methods, such as crops that produce specific toxins or sterile insect techniques. These approaches can reduce the need for broad-spectrum pesticides, benefiting non-target species and ecosystems. However, pests may evolve resistance and there can be unintended effects on food webs. Adaptive management is key to long-term success. Genetically engineered crops that fix nitrogen can reduce the need for synthetic fertilizers, lowering pollution and supporting sustainable agriculture. These crops can improve soil health and decrease runoff into waterways. However, their ecological impact depends on how they interact with native plants and soil microbes. Ongoing research is needed to ensure environmental compatibility. Drought-resistant crops developed through biotechnology can help farmers adapt to changing climate conditions. These crops require less water and can maintain yields during dry periods. While they offer clear benefits, their widespread adoption may affect local plant diversity and water cycles. Careful assessment is needed to balance agricultural productivity with ecological health. Salt-tolerant crops engineered through biotechnology can grow in saline soils, expanding agricultural land and supporting food production in challenging environments. However, their introduction may influence soil chemistry and local plant communities. Monitoring and adaptive management are necessary to ensure positive ecological outcomes. Biotechnology enables the development of plants that resist diseases, reducing crop losses and the need for chemical treatments. This can benefit both agriculture and the environment. However, pathogens may evolve to overcome resistance, and there can be effects on non-target organisms. Ongoing research and monitoring are essential to maintain ecological balance. Animal biotechnology includes genetic modifications to improve livestock health, productivity, and disease resistance. These advances can reduce the environmental footprint of animal agriculture. However, ethical and ecological concerns remain, including animal welfare and the potential for gene flow to wild populations. Responsible use and oversight are critical for minimizing risks. Biotechnology is being applied in urban environments to improve air and water quality, manage waste, and enhance green spaces. Engineered plants and microbes can help cities become more sustainable and resilient. However, the introduction of new organisms into urban ecosystems must be carefully managed to avoid unintended consequences for native species and human health. Biotechnology offers solutions for waste management, such as engineered microbes that break down plastics or organic waste. These innovations can reduce landfill use and pollution. However, the ecological impact of releasing engineered organisms into waste streams must be carefully evaluated to prevent unintended effects on natural microbial communities. Engineered plants and microbes can be used to remove pollutants from the air, improving air quality in both urban and rural areas. These biotechnological approaches offer a natural and sustainable way to address air pollution. However, the introduction of new species must be managed to avoid negative effects on local ecosystems and biodiversity. Biotechnology is enhancing wildlife monitoring through genetic tagging and environmental DNA analysis. These tools help track species populations and detect invasive species, supporting conservation efforts. While these methods are less invasive than traditional techniques, they raise questions about data privacy and the potential for unintended ecological impacts. The future of biotechnology and ecology is full of promise and uncertainty. Advances in genetic engineering, synthetic biology, and environmental monitoring will continue to shape ecosystems in new ways. Collaboration between scientists, policymakers, and the public is essential to ensure that biotechnology is used responsibly and sustainably. By learning from past experiences and embracing innovation, we can harness biotechnology to support both human well-being and ecological health. In conclusion, biotechnology offers powerful tools for addressing ecological challenges, from pollution cleanup to species conservation. However, these technologies also carry risks that must be carefully managed. By fostering open dialogue, rigorous research, and adaptive management, we can maximize the benefits of biotechnology while protecting the integrity of our natural world. The ecological impact of biotechnology is a shared responsibility, and together, we can shape a sustainable future.